Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe for more of my videos. Today's video is basically just a video of everything that I learned while living in Japan about traveling to Japan, staying in Japan, just Japan in general. So I'm going to share with you guys some of my top travel tips for going to Japan, as well as just some random little things that I noticed while living there. One of my top tips for traveling in Japan is to stay in an Airbnb. Now, the hotels in Japan are so tiny. They're very uncomfortable because normally they're Japanese beds, which are different than Western beds, and they're just all around not great. And if you want a Western hotel, it's way more expensive than a Japanese hotel. So if you go with Airbnb, you can get a full apartment, normal Western beds for way less than you would pay at a hotel. And normally if you have an Airbnb, it's more in the city and you're closer to everything rather than the hotels, which typically are a little bit outside of the city. Another one of my tips is use the trains. So the trains can be a little bit intimidating, especially if you don't speak Japanese, and especially if you are there for the first time and you have no idea where anything is. But typically in Japan, every train station has a little bit of English and people will help you out. Also, it's way cheaper than taking a cab. And once you are using the trains for 1 or 2 days, then you'll totally understand what's going on and you'll understand how the train system works and everything like that. I guarantee it. It's not that hard. It's just a little bit intimidating at first, but once you get into it, you'll be fine. Now, if you use the trains, I really recommend getting a train card, a train pass card. There's multiple different kinds. I used the iCoca card, and basically this just makes it easier for you. You don't have to look at the board and find out how much your tickets are. You don't have to buy tickets. It's faster, it's more convenient, especially for foreigners. You just add a bunch of money on it and it automatically calculates your fares. Another thing is use a Japanese airline if you're flying to Japan. Now, nothing against any other airlines, but Japanese airlines are amazing. Their food's way better than any of the other airlines that I've ever had, and they're so nice. Their staff is so nice. Also, they typically have a little bit more room on the planes rather than American Airlines or something like that for international flights. Japanese airlines are the way to go. Staying along the line of airlines is, I definitely recommend if you are traveling within Japan once you get there, to use Peach Airlines. So Peach Airlines is actually a Japanese discount airline that no foreigner knows about. So instead of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a flight from the islands of Okinawa to Tokyo for your trip, I recommend just flying on Peach, and typically the flights are probably like $75, like maybe $100, but typically they're always under $100, and then you can fly anywhere in Japan domestically, and it's way cheaper, way more convenient. So those are like my main travel tips about staying and like logistics of being in Japan. But now I just want to share with you guys some random things that I noticed in Japan. If you want to take a taxi, you should go to a taxi stand. So there's taxi stands all over the place, but most of the time taxis will not stop on the street for you. In the US, you can kind of wave down a taxi or something like that, but in Japan they will not stop for you unless you're at a taxi stand most of the time. Another thing is that you will find cool things everywhere. So if you're on your phone looking for specific things, that's amazing, but also just walking down the street, you'll find so many cool things. I know that in the city that I lived in, there is a giant temple in the middle of the city and it looks amazing, but you would never know online or anything like that. It's just walk around the city and you'll find so many cool things. One thing that was really weird for me coming from the US culture to the Japanese culture is that restaurants close in the middle of the day. So restaurants typically stay open all the way through lunch, but then they close at like 1 or 2 until nighttime for dinner. So sometimes it's really hard to find something to eat that's not super fast food or coffee shop related in the middle of the daytime. Going along with that, there's also this thing called Wednesday Refresh. So on Wednesdays, a lot of the restaurants and a lot of the stores are not open just because it's a day for them to refresh. So I suggest really planning out your visit and making sure that what you want to do on the Wednesday that you're there is open. Another thing that's different from Western countries is there's not a lot of trash cans. So typically Japanese people don't walk around and eat or don't walk around and drink. so there's not a lot of trash cans, and there's hardly any on the street. If you have trash in your hand, you basically have to hold it until you find a trash can. There's trash cans in the train stations and in restaurants, obviously, but aside from that, it's really hard to find a trash can, so I recommend when you see one, throw everything away. Also, wear comfortable shoes because most of the time you are going to be walking. Even if you're taking the train, you're walking between trains and transferring tracks and everything like that. If you're taking taxis, you're walking up hills that taxis can't go on, or you're walking through temple grounds and stuff like that. You walk so much. I have never walked so much in my life than I did when I lived in Japan, so really wear comfortable shoes. Helpful tip if you are looking for food is typically the basement is a supermarket floor and the top of the building are restaurants. So you know that if you're in a mall, if you go to the top of the building, you will find restaurants, and that's amazing because it's so nice and convenient, and most of the time all of the restaurants in Japan are amazing. So as long as you go to like the top 2 or 3 floors of the mall that you're in, you will find amazing restaurants. And the same goes for going to the bottom of the mall, and you will find amazing supermarkets. Typically something that people don't think about or know about unless you've lived in Japan is to go underground. So underground is like a whole different world. You have malls, restaurants, karaoke places, like there is so many things underground that you don't even know about. So if you're walking around the streets or something and you see a staircase to underground, it is not just a subway. I promise you, if you go down there, you will find so many things, and a lot of the times I find some of the coolest things in the basement and underground, and it goes on forever. Okay, you guys, so that is it for today's video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if it was somewhat helpful to you or if you enjoyed it. Also, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my other videos coming up, and leave me a comment if you are traveling to Japan, have been to Japan, or want to go to Japan, just because I love hearing about people who want to go to Japan or where they want to go. So that is it, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!